Good afternoon and welcome. It's my great pleasure to welcome all of you here this afternoon in person in the Braggs Lecture Theatre and those of you who are joining us via streaming. And it is my great pleasure to welcome you to this, our first Vice-Chancellor's Showcase of Learning. And it is truly the Vice-Chancellor's Showcase. I'm sure that our Vice-Chancellor and President, Professor Warren Bebbington, will refer to it, but this event this afternoon is very much Warren's suggestion and Warren's idea. It was prompted by the conversations that Warren had as he went out and about the university talking to staff and students of the university. And we had a conversation in which he talked about just how impressed he was with the innovation, the excellence and the absolute commitment to student learning that he was hearing about as he talked to our staff and students. So this afternoon is just one in a range of events that we'll be holding this year that are designed to recognise, reward and showcase the wide range of innovation, excellent and dedicated teaching that takes place at the University of Adelaide. We have 5 faculties represented in this afternoon's presentations, and I think that's a very clear sign of the breadth of commitment to teaching across the university and the outstanding quality that you'll hear about this afternoon. This is very much a celebration of the high quality learning and teaching at the university, and I think it's only fitting as well to mention other examples of high quality learning and teaching that we're very proud of. Many of you will know that just recently the Office for Learning and Teaching announced its latest grants of teaching grants, and in that round 3 grants were awarded to the University of Adelaide staff, something again we're extremely proud of, and recognition of the sort of thinking and work that's going on in teaching and learning here. And finally, I'm really pleased to share with you the news that Professor Marie O'Keefe of the Faculty of Health Sciences has just been announced as one of this year's recipients of an Office of Learning and Teaching National Fellowship. It's now my great pleasure to introduce the Vice-Chancellor and President of the University, Professor Warren Bebbington. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Denise, and welcome to our Learning and Teaching Showcase, and welcome to this newest and most magnificent of our lecture theatres, the Braggs. I know there's some people who went to the old Braggs, and I hope they've now got with the program and have joined us here. Let me begin with a rather odd point, and that is that from a marketing point of view, universities are rather odd beasts. It's not as if the better quality product costs more. Domestic students are charged exactly the same whether they go to a university which is good, bad or ugly, whether they enrol for a course which is in demand or not in demand. International students, on the other hand, are charged more and more every year, and the cost of what they do increases faster than inflation. But again, it's not related to the quality of the teaching, the quality of the course they're provided with. It's driven by the exploding costs of research and by a whole series of non-salary cost rises, in particular and increasingly in technology. So they're funny beasts. Student fees in universities don't respond to the usual supply and demand relationship. So how does the public measure quality in a university? They do so by a series of proxies, some of them more likely than others. The ATAR score is high, so perhaps the quality must be high. The staff-student ratio is good, so perhaps the quality must be high. There's a success in the degree in getting job placements. Maybe that means the quality is high. But unfortunately for all of us, the value of degrees in obtaining work has been falling for quite some time. Over the last decade in most Western countries, The average earnings in real terms of graduates have declined, in some countries 10, in others up to 14%. The rates of immediate graduate employment are falling. One reason, of course, is the rapidly rising number of graduates there are, and within 7 years, by 2020, 30% of all the world's graduates will be Chinese. Will there be enough jobs for them? Now, an Adelaide degree, or a degree from any of the group of 8, has a brand value in attracting a job, though intuitively it's a brand value only for attracting the first job. Later jobs, increasingly, it's the brand value of the previous employer, the experience you've gained that counts for more. So what then essentially does a university mean to our students? In the 20th century, unquestionably it was a place of expensive buildings and facilities, a place which had a learning monopoly on advanced knowledge, which you studied by reading texts and attending lectures. When we talk to alumni, we find they all valued having the degree and going through the experience of being at a university. They talk much less about the quality of the teaching. In fact, when I go to alumni events, and I go to many of them have endless war stories about how somehow they succeeded in their profession despite the teaching, which was absolutely execrable. The universities, of course, always claimed that the students would be taught by leading thinkers. But you and I know that that was often not the case. Crudely put, teaching generates revenue, which is necessary for the exploding costs of research, and throughout the latter years of the 20th century, increasingly promotion was still being based on research. Understandably, the teaching quality was variable. Now, where are we going now? Are universities still a place? Well, they're certainly a server anyway, where students can download their online course notes and the content in online lectures. They're certainly no longer a learning monopoly. Academics are still an authority, but they're competing with all kinds of other din. The content we offer is more and more devalued as it becomes freely and universally available through the MOOCs, through all other kinds of ways. And the whole model of the education we provide is being unbundled. Bits of it offered by for-profit providers at high fees, for MOOCs for little or no fees, and so on. The internet means that our tenured staff are now less necessary in the lecture theatre because the students increasingly get their interactions through Skype, through Facebook, through Google+. So just like the post office has faced new challenges because of changed communication, the bookshop, the newsagent, so too universities everywhere have a number of fundamental challenges. One of them is this link between quality and cost. Does changing and improving teaching have to cost more? Well, we have a splendid opportunity to find out because we have no more money, even though we've committed to making substantial changes to our teaching. And what can we do about this eroding power of the degree in relation to work? And with the increasingly impersonal interactions that students rely on online, how can we support learning with personal interactions with staff, with real-world practice? I think it's time for academics to fundamentally rethink the use of their time. Students are no longer just passive recipients of the transmission of knowledge. They can co-create together with us what they need to learn. Tenured staff, having put material online and less needed in the lecture theatre, there's more time to become mentors, to be sitting down with students and asking what they didn't understand, what the problems are. And I think we all need to consider that assessment can be increasingly and sometimes better when it's computer driven. I was talking to a professor in another university yesterday who's done the most wonderful things about flipping his classroom and online delivery, but who still, when it comes to assessment, requires the students to memorise this unending amount of unnecessary drivel and then recite it in a closed book 3-hour exam. It's a labour-intensive way of assessment. It's a poor way of assessment. These days there are so many better options. And as we think about our use of time, the traditional academic year, I think, is going to fade. Just on the work issue, the workplaces now more and more embrace learning. Our learning place needs to start embracing work. We need to look to many, many more ways of providing our students with real-world experience, work placements. We need to regard casual staff not as a problem, but especially if they're seasoned practitioners, as a presence in our classrooms we must have to connect our students with the world of work. We need to look at better ways of collaborating with business and the professions. We need to accept that more and more of our students, to minimise their debt and increase their employability, are going to intertwine work with study, which will increasingly be part-time, and the old model of the 3-year, the 4-year degree, its dominance is likely to decline. There's a marvellous paper published a couple of months ago by the Institute of Public Policy Research in London. It's not by the Vice-Chancellor of Flinders, it's actually by Sir Michael Barber. An avalanche is coming, higher education and the revolution ahead. And in this paper, there's a series of points made about what a university like ours, one of the traditional elite universities, needs to do to maintain its position. I was fascinated to find that, with a single exception, these were the things we've set out in our 10-year strategic plan. Barber says an elite university needs to ensure it becomes nationally and internationally a learning role model. For some universities like Harvard and MIT, that has come through providing their world-class content free online through the MOOCs. For us, we've committed to providing it through a teaching model of small group discovery. These universities will need to find ways of regaining and preserving personalised student development, contact between staff that will help to mentor students towards independence and leadership. These universities need to get much better at offering real-world experience to their students through work experience, study abroad, career mentoring. They need to get much better at using technology. They need to have closer and much more meaningful international alliances with staff and student mobility between them and a remote partner, as well as serious international benchmarking. The one thing which isn't in the Beacon, which is in Barber, is he believes all elite universities need a remote campus or two abroad that delivers the same quality, the same kind of education as the home campus does. So here we are today. As I've moved around the campus, I get the feeling that most staff understand why and what the value would be in placing a spotlight back on small groups. Many staff, though, I think, are apprehensive about the online side of this that we've set out in the Beacon, about how they should go about it, or indeed why. For the how, this is why we've committed an immense amount of new resource to supporting e-learning and learning IT, which will become evident as we go forward. As to why it's important to get an online component, well, it's all I can tell you is that when I rolled my courses over to online components, the first thing that happened was the pass rate lifted, in one case 21%. It's an enormous struggle of the ego to realise that students are better off without you standing in front, but with these resources. For students, of course, the flexibility, the command of their time that comes through having these things online, being able to watch them when they please, being able to go over and over and over the things they don't understand till they do, those are tremendous and practical for them. So I'm looking forward to hearing today these practitioners from the campus who've been selected because some of them are doing really extremely interesting things in the direction we're hoping to go. And I hope you enjoy what they have to say too. Thank you very much.
As part of the celebrations that comprise this afternoon, I'm really pleased that we will be awarding the Commendations for Excellence in Support of the Student Experience. These commendations were introduced in the university in 2012 and were designed to recognise the diverse range of activities, services and programs that contribute to a high-quality experience at the University of Adelaide. They recognise the achievements of academic and professional staff from all faculties and divisions. These awards are assessed by a panel of peers and are judged against the extent to which the applicant's contribution has had a significant and sustained effect on supporting the student experience in the university. In 2013, 3 such awards have been made, and it's my great pleasure this afternoon to join with the Vice-Chancellor in presenting the awards to the recipients. The first award goes to the staff of the Maths Learning Centre, and that's Dr. David Butler and Mr. Nicholas Crouch. The Maths Learning Centre was founded in 1992 to provide maths learning assistance to all students studying or using maths at the university. David became the coordinator of the Maths Learning Centre in 2008 and Nicholas joined in early 2009. Together, they have guided students and developed the Maths Learning Centre through different physical and organisational changes and have developed an invaluable support service that now serves as one of the very important functions of the hub. David and Nicholas are proactive and creative in the ways in which they provide support to our students. They actively seek out students in need of support, they encourage staff involvement and development, and they've created an extremely vibrant learning environment in the hub. And many of you know, they don't just work in the hub, they're frequently out and about doing things that many of us don't always quite get as being part of maths. So David and Nicholas have certainly educated me in what it really means to learn mathematics. Under the guidance of David and Nicholas, the Maths Learning Centre has had a positive impact on the learning and engagement of thousands of students from the University of Adelaide. Please join me in congratulating David and Nicholas. Our second recipient this afternoon is Dr. Stephanie Hester from the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. Stephanie has been the Transition and Participation Officer in the faculty since 2009. In this role, she's developed and delivered sustainable programs that promote tertiary participation for prospective students and provide transition, retention and learning support services for undergraduate services. Particularly noteworthy of Steph's achievements have been her initiatives in establishing the HUM's Study Skills Clinic, establishing a peer mentoring program for at-risk undergraduate students, and her development of community outreach programs in the northern suburbs. I would just like to add that while we're so pleased to be awarding this to Steph, we'd also like to welcome Stephanie's father, Dr. David Hester, who has been a staff member in the School of Classics at this university. And Dr. Hester won a Stephen Cole the Elder Award in 1996. So we're so pleased that you could join us this afternoon and celebrate Steph's achievement. Congratulations, Steph. And our third recipient this afternoon is Dr. Julia Miller from the School of Education. In addition to lecturing in the School of Education, Julia is coordinator of the University Preparation Academic Literacies course and coordinator of the AusAid Introductory Academic Program. Julia has worked in the area of student academic support at the university for nearly 4 years, and in this time has had a significant impact on student access and participation in different equity groups, including Indigenous students, mature age students, students who speak English as a second language, and students with physical disabilities. In addition to face-to-face academic support, Julia has developed a number of innovative resources, print and online, and all of these support the student experience. Notably, Julia recently received funding through the highly competitive Office for Learning and Teaching Grants scheme, in which she developed the Ms. Parrot, the Grammar Detective video series, which helps guide international students through some of the more difficult aspects of English language in a humorous and engaging manner. Congratulations, Julia. Thank you.